What's up, castaways? Welcome back to another synth video with me, Miles Away. I know it's been a while, and as you guys can see, I'm in a brand new studio space. More on that in another video. But for now, I can't wait to dive into the Moog DFAM. Now, the Moog DFAM, I got it about a year ago, and I'll admit it's probably been my most underutilized piece of gear in the studio. So I decided recently, after moving, to take a look, dive in, and really go deeper into the synth to try to show you guys a unique workflow and how I use it in my productions. Now, as always, if you like this kind of video, please remember to hit that bell, turn on notifications, like and subscribe. It all helps the channel grow. And let's jump into the video and get started. Now, as you can tell from my video, my workflow with the Moog DFAM is that I actually like to use it as a layer inside another track rather than a solo performance tool. So how I'll do that is I'll either do jam sessions with the Moog DFAM at one tempo, where I'll then record a bunch of material and then bring it into Logic after the fact and time stretch it, or in some cases, as you just heard, I'll build an entire track around my jam. We're gonna go and check out the full live performance of that track at the end of the video, so make sure to watch until the end. Now, let's jump into a tour of the machine so you guys can learn how it works and learn some tips for how to use your own Moog DFAM to create some cool sounds like that.
Alright, so the first thing I like about the DFAM is the hands-on control for everything. So it is a little bit of a complicated synth at the beginning before you really wrap your head around what each section does. But once you do, there's one control for everything. It's super straightforward, and it's one of the quickest and most intuitive synths to jump around and get some really interesting tones really quickly. So there's a million really great tutorials on YouTube for the DFAM. Highly recommend the one from Mylar Melodies. But we'll quickly go through everything just in case. So right over here, let's start dialing in a regular patch. So I've got a velocity up for just the steps 1 and 5, and that's going to make us a kind of 4 to the floor pattern. Let's check it out. Here, VCA decay, probably one of the most important knobs. When it's fully open, you have like that 808 bass type of sound. And when it's closed, you've got just basically a click, which works really well for hi-hats and whatnot if you want to, use noise. Cool, so here we've got our tempo. What's really cool is it can go into the audio rates, so you can literally turn your sequences into really interesting waveforms. But for today, we're just gonna keep it at a nice steady tempo. I like that. Cool, so we've got 2 oscillators and a noise source. So oscillator 1, you've been hearing, oscillator 2. Each one can be individually pitched. So this is the great thing about the DFAM, is that if you have modular gear or gear that takes CV, you can patch out of the DFAM and take 2 really great sounding Moog oscillators. Really cool stuff. But for today, again, we're going to focus on the more kind of experimentation and sound design and drum style of synthesis here. All right, the first thing that's great is how good these envelopes are and how quick it is to dial in really punchy sounding kick drums. So let's do that right now. We're going to use really only 3 knobs. We're going to use the VCO decay, 4 knobs actually, VCO decay, VCO EG amounts, frequency, and then the VCA decay. And what that's going to allow us to do is, as we open up the VCA, it's going to make a longer tail of our kick drum, and then we're going to control the shape of the pitch modulation on the envelope and the decay exactly of the oscillator with these two. And then the frequency, we're just going to tune our kick drum once we're done. already there. I'm liking that as a kick drum. Sounds pretty sweet. All right, cool. Now the next thing we're going to do here, we're going to use our first patch cable and we're going to patch in noise to make a snare. So by going out of the pitch and into the noise level, what we'll do is now when we increase the pitch, whichever step we increase the pitch on will play noise. Note the velocity still has to be up, or the VCA decay still has to be ringing out for this to work. Sounding pretty cool already. Now we're going to take the filter. The next thing I love about the DFAM. The filter is a classic Moog ladder filter, and damn does it sound good. Let's turn off that noise for a sec. Beautiful sounding filter. We can add in some filter EG. There we go. Right here, this is a type of, honestly, this is a type of bass sample I would 100% use in a track, and we made it in just a couple minutes. Let's bring back in that pitch and noise. So we've got a groove going already. The third thing I love about DFAM is how quick it is to improvise and how amazing this is for just creating really unique, ever modulating and moving drum beats. Let's check it out. Remember, we're just using one oscillator and noise right now. We're going to limit ourselves to that. As we bring up the velocity, little by little, we're going to get these little accent notes. If we throw a delay on here, immediately we've got a workable beat. Very cool. All right, so next up, what we're going to do here is we're going to bring in the second oscillator. So thing number 4 I love about it is how hard sync works with the oscillator 2 on the Moog DFAM. Now, this was really actually eye-opening for me because before using the DFAM, I never ever thought of oscillator sync as something that would be important in percussion synthesis. But what oscillator sync allows us to do is modulate and change the pitch of oscillator 2 with every single step while keeping it kind of melodically in tune and quantizing it, or rather syncing it to oscillator 1. Now, if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around that, basically what that means is normally this pitch sequencer, it's not quantized, meaning if we, let's see what that sounds like right here. It's cool, but it's just bleeps and bloops. It's not really useful for anything. Whereas what we're gonna do here, let's start bringing in oscillator 2. So right now it's not quantized at all. Now let's put on hard sync. There we go. We just needed a better bass note. So now all of a sudden, all of these really cool little pitch modulations we're doing, they're syncing to oscillator 1. Really, really cool for industrial sounds. Right right here. This is something I'd honestly use as like an intro to a track. Remember what we talked about? The VCA decay is probably one of the most important things to use for performing with this, because you can go from really relaxed intro, and then as it opens up, you get ready to drop it. Really cool stuff. Then the final thing that I love about the DFAM, and this is where I would say I'm still learning a lot, is the incredible amount of patch points and ways that you can do certain unique things with the DFAM that will make it much more deep than what's initially on the surface. So a couple examples we'll go through here. And again, I highly recommend you check out Mylar Melody's video on this synth. He did an amazing job of kind of showcasing exactly what the DFAM can do when you have someone who really knows what to do with it. Again, I've never been an expert in modular gear, but basically here's a couple cool ideas. So one I really liked was if we can go out with this split patch cable and we can keep our white noise snare, but we can also have pitch govern the tempo of DFAM, then what that's going to do is that's going to allow for all sorts of interesting subdivisions with rhythms when we start playing our sequence. So let's check it out. Sounds bad right now, but we're going to work on it. See, that's pretty cool. I didn't even mention it, but the VCF has a high pass mode as well. Really cool. Another one I love to do is going from the pitch as well, and this is why it's important to have these stack cables, as I mentioned with the DFAM, going instead of tempo into VCA CV. Now what this is going to do is every time the pitch is different, it's going to send a slightly different control voltage to the VCA CV. But remember, the pitch is different per step. So what that's going to do, and it might be a little hard to hear at first, but it's going to create some really interesting accents on our rhythm. So let's check that out. You hear with that clicking? Really cool, right? So we're modulating the actual decay amount in the CV. Really cool here. We're actually just modulating the VCA with control voltage, and this is just the beginning, right? So a couple more examples of, again, this is not patching, but some of the more advanced ways you can mess with your sound. We can actually add FM from the noise source for a more gritty sound, or FM between oscillator 1 and 2. Now check out how well that works with the oscillator sync. We turn off oscillator sync, it's all messy. We can also decouple the VCA2. We can also decouple VCO2 and have it be essentially a static part for FM. And remember, we can literally just turn this into an oscillator if we want. and then control that with a control voltage keyboard.
Alright, so that about does it for a tour of the machine and why I love the Moog DFAM. Now let's dive in and see how I made the DFAM track in that intro song. As always, one more time, remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And let me know in the comments if you want to see more content for the Moog DFAM. Hope you guys enjoyed that live performance. As you can see, the Moog DFAM is an incredibly inspiring tool, not just for techno, but for all sorts of other electronic music. As always, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.